What? Vegeta was listening to a conversation. Those two are coming to Earth.
Raditz, one of the last Saiyan survivors, had come to Earth to bring his brother, Kakarot, into the Frieza Force and take over planet Earth. However, a freak accident during a battle against the Namekian Piccolo left him with no memories. After spending nearly a year with his brother, now known as Goku, and his family, Raditz has become accustomed to Earth, seeing it as his new home. But the more he trains with them, the more memories have returned. Now the Saiyan recalls his mission and warns Kakarot that if he doesn't join him, then Earth will be destroyed. After a small altercation against his brother, Raditz retreated to his Saiyan pod, contemplating just what he is about to do. That's when he saw on his pod screen a message from Prince Vegeta. They had listened to his conversations prior to his scouter being destroyed, and now him and Nappa were on their way to take over the planet. Raditz no longer had a say on the matter. Earth was doomed. Or was it? It was only a matter of time until they arrived. Raditz's soul was now being torn apart. He had come to love this planet, but it was only because he lost his memories. Vegeta, Nappa, the Frieza Force, that was where he belonged. Not amongst these weaklings. It was all Kakarot's fault. If it wasn't for him, then he wouldn't have had to endure all of this. This peace, this quiet. No Saiyan was fit for such a lifestyle. It had been a gift and a curse. The pod's image display shone brightly on the Saiyan's face, his eyes locked deeply with the message shown. He knew what would come next. Raditz stayed in the pod, contemplating his next move. Would he join forces with his Saiyan comrades and pillage the world for all its resources? Handing over this place, which had effectively become a new home to him, over to Lord Frieza, he clicked off the image display and fell asleep. The following morning, after having recovered from his injuries thanks to senzu beans from Master Korin, he wasn't sure if facing his brother again would be the right move, but it was the only thing he could do in a situation like this. Goku waved at Chi-Chi as he jumped on the Nimbus, locating the second strongest ki on the planet, Piccolo. The Saiyan arrived before the Namekian, accompanied by Krillin and Gohan. Chi-Chi wasn't happy about Gohan coming along, but Goku insisted if there was a way to bring him back, then Gohan could do it. But he promised her that he wouldn't be put in harm's ways. Piccolo wasn't thrilled about Kakarot finding him, even if his new techniques were nearly ready to be displayed. He came with the bald man Piccolo had fought at the World Tournament. Were they there to kill him? Goku denied this. Instead, he came here with a proposition. Raditz had already been stronger than them both before, and after training with Goku and Gohan, his power, technique, and martial arts prowess had reached unimaginable levels. Goku was not up to par yet, so he would need Piccolo's help to stop the damnation of Earth. Piccolo was going to refuse at first, but realized that this was his chance at revenge, perhaps his only chance. On one hand, he could stand back and watch as Goku was killed by his own brother, and on the other, he could join his old adversary and finally defeat a man that caused him so much humiliation. He weighed his options. If Raditz wins, then there will be no Earth for him to turn into his demonic kingdom. Piccolo accepted. With this unlikely alliance in place, the Dragon team rushed over to Raditz's power. Raditz's eyes opened. They were on their way. He could sense it. It was strange being able to read people's presence without a scouter. He didn't think it was possible, but he had to admit it. It was nice not having half of his face read all the time. As the Dragon team made their way to him, Raditz looked up, hand filled with ki, aiming at the sky. Beneath him was a small city, now on fire. He had begun to carry out his mission. However, even he could tell that his heart was not in it. If he put his mind into it, half the world would be destroyed by now. Not just a measly city. People ran and screamed beneath him. This brought him little joy. It was just a mission. Then he heard the humming of the flying Nimbus, a humming he had become far too familiar with. Sensing the ki of his brother, the Saiyan invader simply lifted his arm up to the sky and fired a ki blast. Goku cursed. He had to be careful. This would be harder than he thought if he was already aiming to kill. Nimbus twirled around the blast, but not before Krillin fell from it as he was just holding on to Goku. Krillin landed safely on his face, while the others descended. Raditz crossed his arms with a forced smile. Gohan gulped, afraid of being in this city, while Krillin helped some civilians along the way. There was malice in Raditz's eyes, but Gohan could tell there was no satisfaction in what he had to do next.
There you are. This time I'm gonna beat you, and then nothing will stand between me and Goku. You just don't give up.
Raditz, if it's come to this, we have no choice but to stop you.
I hate the idea, but I'll team up with them if it means beating you.
Even if you are Goku's brother, we can't let you take over the Earth!
Fine. Come on then. Show me what you've got!
Piccolo was the first one to attack, fueled by the humiliation brought upon him. He wasn't going to let this Saiyan get away, not this time. But even with this massive amount of improvements, it seemed like Raditz was now even stronger than ever. His memories having returned also meant the return of several of his Saiyan techniques, which they were all unfamiliar with. Piccolo was doing better than the last time, but Goku continued to yell at him that they need to work together, otherwise they don't stand a chance. Goku rushed in, leading the charge. He unleashed a Kamehameha, while Piccolo fired a barrage of energy blasts, creating a smokescreen that obscured Raditz's vision. Raditz dodged most of the attacks, but some grazed him, causing minor injuries. Gohan, though he was instructed not to get in trouble, had to take this chance to attack. Krillin watched him move over the smoke and followed suit. The two jumped up to the sky and fired a pair of ki blasts, which surprised Raditz, destroying a part of his armor as he was forced to jump back. Part of Raditz was angered by this, but he realized he was also proud. Gohan was doing better than ever before, becoming a true Saiyan warrior. But these thoughts proved to be a distraction, as Goku and Piccolo zoomed through the smoke and pummeled Raditz with swift punches and kicks, overwhelming him. Raditz cursed, and now he was in trouble. He can't be thinking about stupid things like that. In response, Raditz countered with a double Sunday, creating two massive energy waves that forced the Z fighters to scatter. Goku and Piccolo managed to dodge the attack, but Krillin took a direct hit, leaving him severely wounded. The city continued to suffer, with the heroes unable to lead Raditz away from it. But Goku realized that Raditz hesitated against his nephew. It was a good call keeping Gohan around. Piccolo asked Goku to buy him some time as he began to charge his special beam cannon, but Raditz had seen that attack before, and he wasn't about to let it hit him. He moved in and out of the way of Krillin and Goku's attacks, finally arriving right before Piccolo, lifting his arm up to unleash a powerful blow. But just as he did this, Raditz was surprised by the anger in the eyes of the young Gohan, who zoomed before his uncle with his arms spread. He was defending the Namekian? Raditz caught himself unable to bring himself to slash down at his own blood. This proved to be a mistake, however, as he then heard Piccolo move his arm back. Raditz's eyes widened as he tried to move out of the way, but it was too late. The special beam cannon pierced through his shoulder, rendering the arm completely useless and going off to destroy several buildings nearby. Raditz was pushed into a wall, grabbing his arm in pain as he struggled to stand up. That would have killed him if he was only slightly further up. Without an arm, this battle would be a lot harder. Piccolo thanked Gohan but pushed him out of the way as he continued towards Raditz, before being stopped by Goku. Goku told Piccolo that he was clearly done. They didn't have to kill him. Piccolo argued otherwise. He could simply recover and kill them all off. He had to make sure he didn't miss like the last one. But as Raditz heard his brother protect him from what would be sure death, he took a chance to charge his ki into his usable arm, appeared behind Goku and Piccolo, and unleashed all of that power. Both Goku and Piccolo were left extremely hurt in a crater in the middle of the city, with a Namekian cursing Goku's name, but Goku ignored it. This was truly painful for him. Yeah, it was fun to fight someone strong, but this was his brother, someone he had come to care deeply about, someone Gohan looked up to. If he hadn't lost his memories, would he had to kill him? Was this always the ultimate destiny of the Fateful Brothers? As Piccolo struggled to stand back up, he looked up to find Raditz standing over him, staring him down. Raditz was now heavily injured, but the Z fighters, despite their numbers, were in an even worse shape. Goku had 2 senzu beans left from what Korin gave him. If he took one, he may have a chance to win. As he contemplated this, Raditz smirked at Piccolo. He could kill him. He could win. But he continued to hear the words of his little brother in his mind. That killing wasn't the way. That killing Piccolo would be a waste.
It's just that there's no point in taking your worthless life. Sounds like hanging around Goku's made you soft. If this is the best you have to offer, you won't stand a chance against them. Against who?
Raditz spits on the floor, saying that it doesn't matter now, that this was always going to be the Earth's fate. He recalled back to when his mother told him about Kakarot being sent to Earth. Why hadn't Kakarot gone ahead with his mission? What delayed Earth's demise for so long? Whoever that Grandpa Gohan guy was had saved the planet unknowingly. As Raditz contemplated this, Goku rushed behind his brother, grabbing him by the tail. Goku recalled his old weakness from when he was a child and held on to it tight. He begged Raditz to give up, to join them once more. Raditz fell to his knees, his power being zapped away. He hadn't felt something like this in a long time. His father had pulled that trick on him when he was young. He knew he should have worked on his tail training, but there was no time for regrets now. He needed to do something.
Accept your fate, Raditz!
Piccolo yelled at Goku to just kill the man, and Goku yelled back for Piccolo to shut up. This continued, with Piccolo saying that if he won't do it, then he will. Piccolo pushed himself forward, with Goku finally letting go of Raditz to stop Piccolo. But Raditz quickly stood back up, throwing a punch at the exact same time the other two did. It was a triangle of punches, Goku throwing one at Raditz and Piccolo, Piccolo throwing at Raditz and Goku, Raditz throwing one at Piccolo and Goku. It was a stalemate as blood dripped from their mouths. Piccolo was the least damaged one, but Raditz was still the strongest. Only one of them would come out alive. That's when they felt an extreme heat surge nearby. Krillin yelled at Gohan to get back. Gohan's hair flared up with the wind as it spiraled around him alongside his aura. Gohan's ki was rising extremely fast, electricity surging. He screamed out to stop fighting. He spread out his arms and, like a lightning bolt striking down, burst forward through all three of them. They were sent into different directions, breaking apart the fighting in one fell swoop and seemingly defeating all three. For a second, Goku's vision was blurry, but he was able to look up to see Gohan on the ground, clearly unconscious. He tried to crawl his way to his son, but his power was quickly failing him. That's when he turned his head to watch as Krillin continued to fight, throwing kamehamehas and punches and everything he could at Raditz. But the Saiyan, with whatever little energy he had left, slapped the human away as he took steps to Gohan. Goku couldn't believe it as he continued to yell and curse at Raditz, smoke surrounding the area while his brother bent down to grab Gohan by the tail.
Not over. You may have beaten me, but you'll never stand up to Prince Vegeta. What?
Raditz turned his head and said that if Kakarot won't join him, then perhaps Gohan will. Raditz was limping, clearly 1 foot in the grave already, but he had enough power to take off with his son. Goku realized he had teardrops on his cheeks as he begged for Krillin's help. Piccolo groaned nearby, struggling to get up. Krillin hurried by his friend's side. Even in this terrible hour where he had been pummeled by the Saiyan, he mustered up the courage to run to his aid. Goku begged Krillin to reach into his pocket, as Goku had no power left to even do that. A pair of senzu beans. Krillin was about to give it to him when Goku told him to stop and to break it in half instead. Krillin was confused but did as told. Goku told him to split the second bean as well and distribute it between Krillin and Piccolo. The bald man fed the first half to Goku, who instantly shot up to his feet, muscles swelling up, rushing with adrenaline and power. It was strange. Krillin had never seen Goku like this. It wasn't just fury in his eyes. It was a deep pain, but above that, a strange power that had awoken within him, as if being hurt had only made him stronger. Without any other words, Goku called down Nimbus and followed Raditz's ki. It was time to end things once and for all. Meanwhile, Raditz holds on to Gohan tightly, looking around for somewhere to land, blood dripping from him and onto the ocean. Finally, he spots a small island, the site of his last battle against Piccolo, with a tree sitting in the middle. He just needed somewhere to rest, to collect his thoughts. The Saiyan quickly landed, trying to catch his breath as he gently set Gohan down. Raditz sat back against the tree, hiding his ki, which was depleting rapidly. He couldn't help but smile while looking at Gohan. That kid had given the three of them quite a lot of damage and completely stopped the fight.
They've improved quite a bit.
Raditz simply held his own arm and leaned back comfortably against the tree. A small butterfly landed on a tree branch by him, and Raditz stared at it. The two of them had gone out to find bugs before. It was a fun activity, and Raditz ended up learning a lot about Earthling insects thanks to Gohan. He could remember the insects of planet Vegeta, catching them, messing with them, hearing his mother's call that food was ready, getting told that he had a new mission coming up, one with Prince Vegeta. What an honor, he thought to himself at the time. That was the last time he saw his mother. mother, and it had been even longer since he had heard from his father. Bardock had always been a better Saiyan than him, better than most. What would he have done in this situation? Gohan finally woke up, his vision coming into view. The first thing he sees is Raditz, red grass surrounding him from his blood. Gohan moved to him and asked if he was okay. What happened? Raditz chuckled. So, the kid doesn't remember. He doesn't know his true powers still. Raditz can't look at Gohan in the eyes, but Gohan grabs his hand softly. Raditz is surprised, turning his head to look at the young kid, a single tear falling from his cheek. The kid looked at him no different than he did prior to his memories returning. It was clear that Gohan still cared deeply about his friend, someone whom he had gotten a lot stronger with. He had gone from a friend to a mentor to an uncle, and now Raditz was betraying that trust.
Uncle Raditz, why do you have to be so mean? You're not a bad guy. I know you're not.
Raditz could only picture his mother as he looked at Gohan, that single tear falling from his face. It reminded him of the way his mother would look when either he or his father would have to go on missions. She was never one for fighting, though she was in his father's squad for a time. His father would always end up badly hurt, and his mother would have to nurse him back to health. Bardock loved it, and Guinea was proud, but there was always a worry in the back of her head that she wouldn't see him again. To her solace, at least, his father had been on planet Vegeta with her when she died, as far as Raditz knew.
Because I'm a Saiyan, this is punishment for our sins.
Raditz understood that now. He was doomed to love this world he swore to destroy, the people he was going to kill, the brother he once lost, and this young boy, the future of the Saiyan race, his own blood. Ironic. Whatever physical pain he felt was nothing in comparison to the storm brewing in his heart. The sound of boots landing made Raditz turn his head, now staring at Kakarot, a Saiyan who had just grown even further. He couldn't believe his power, but Raditz, even in the face of this immense danger, as Goku stared him down with righteous anger and worry for his son's well-being, couldn't help but smile at his brother. He was a true Saiyan. Despite his clothes, his humanity, his name, he could sense that he had grown from a near-death experience. That strange power only Saiyans possessed. He was a true Saiyan.
Darn you! You're not getting away this time!
Gohan looked at his father, as the younger brother realized that even after everything that happened, even after having to attack Raditz, his son wasn't afraid of him. Even so, Raditz lets go of Gohan's hand and slowly stood up and puts up his defenses. He was determined to fight until the very end. Gohan's hand was left stained with his uncle's blood as the butterfly flew away from the tree branch.
Come on, Kakarot!
Goku pitied his brother, even giving him one last chance to leave them alone, but Raditz refused. A Saiyan dies a warrior's death. That's all he has lived for and all he will ever know. Goku was disappointed by this answer and got into a battle stance himself. Raditz stood little chance, but no matter what Goku threw at him, Raditz simply got back up. Nothing but adrenaline fueling him. Even in his dying moments, Raditz's attacks hit him with unimaginable power. Raditz wanted to give him his all if this was really going to be his final battle. He used everything he had learned from every person he learned it from. A rebellion spear from Bardock, a rapid-fire energy blast from Vegeta. This was the culmination of years and years of adventures, conquering and more. But above all, he used Goku's own moves and techniques against him. Reading Ki was vital to this battle. Even so, there could only be one winner. Goku had already proven to have risen above Raditz, surpassing his older brother in more ways than one. At times, Goku didn't look like Kakarot. Clearly, he had learned just as much from his brother as Raditz had learned from him. Perhaps he could take on the other Saiyans after all, but he shouldn't have to. It's his fault they're coming to Earth. Kakarot lived peacefully before he met him. In a last-ditch attempt to defeat his brother, Kakarot rose up to the sky, charging a Kamehameha as Raditz pulled back his arms, creating a weakened blast that would have surely killed him in one shot less than a year ago. The attacks clashed, weaving back and forth in a battle for dominance. Gohan watched closely, hoping both of them would come out okay from this terrible battle. Finally, Goku screamed out, the power he gained from the Zenkai boost overwhelming Raditz and consuming him. His earthling clothes nearly destroyed as he landed close to a tree, with Gohan running by his side. Goku panted and lowered himself slowly until reaching his brother. He grabbed his hand, just as he had done with Gohan before, but it was clear that the final attack meant the end. Raditz couldn't move his head to even look at Kakarot. His brother brother helped him up, sitting against the tree once more. His breaths were heavy, and he was quickly losing consciousness.
Well done, Kakarot.
Raditz!
I used to think power was everything, but I see now. I didn't know what true strength was. Caring for the weak and fighting to protect something that is true strength. Isn't it, Kakarot?
Wait, you mean...
The butterfly that had landed on the tree branch before flapped its wings onto the tip of Raditz's finger. The Saiyan could barely shift his eyes to look at it. He wanted to ask Gohan what the creature was called, but the words could not be mustered. Raditz's eyes slowly defocused, and his hand dropped from Goku's. Gohan had tears streaming down his face. As he faded, Raditz began to recall the warm memories of the time spent with Goku and his friends, just as Krillin and Piccolo arrived. Raditz could no longer hear them, but his consciousness was not gone yet. The recurring dream about his father returned one last time. The familiar location, the outskirts of a Saiyan village with a castle in the background overlooking it. There, he stood alone and slowly began to walk. He looked around this familiar village, a distant memory and a forgotten culture. In the distance, a man stood, a Saiyan with a familiar hairstyle and a tail around his waist. Raditz recognized him instantly.
Father, I'm not qualified to be a Saiyan anymore. They're going to call me a low-class warrior. A weakling. Again.
The man turned around slowly. To Raditz, he was there, really there, a physical being. He hadn't seen his father like this ever since he was young. He wondered what he thought of him now. Would he be seen as a true Saiyan? Had he been weak by allowing himself to care for Kakarot?
I don't care. You're still my son.
Father, I miss you.
Bardock placed a hand on his shoulder. Raditz focused in on his father. He really did look like Kakarot. If he's seeing him again like this, then surely he's passing on, right? He failed his Saiyan mission, and he failed his brother. Even if he did survive, then he'd have to come face to face with Vegeta and Nappa again. He would have no option but to destroy Earth alongside them, to say goodbye to his family forever. But Bardock spoke once more.
As a gift, you may have a match with me. Come, Raditz!
Raditz's eyes lit up with wonder as we look back to see he is now a young boy once more. The city around him was now populated with Saiyans, including his mother, watching from the doorway of their home, as if he had returned to a simpler time. But Bardock was not holding back. Every strike was just as powerful as Raditz remembered. The battle continued, with Raditz changing into his adolescence, blasting at his father, tanking attacks, growing stronger and stronger. He is actually able to stand up to his father, showing him that he's now a true match. As the battles continued, Bardock fired a rebellion spear at his son. This had been a sight Raditz was very familiar with, but he knew now how to counter it. Raditz cupped his hand by his side and fired a blue blast that pushed his spear back and hit Bardock square on. But his father wasn't done, instantly recovering and flying around to kick Raditz down. But Raditz responded quickly, spinning back and grabbing Bardock's leg, slamming him to the ground. The crash created a crater in the middle of the city, as from a flash of light, Raditz was now a full-on adult once more. In the same earthling clothing Bulma gave him, he landed down by his father, who smiled up at him. His face changed from Bardock to Kakarot as he finally faded away. Raditz's heart started beating fast. He turned his head. Every Saiyan around disappeared until finally his mother was gone too. When he turned back, all he could see was Vegeta and Nappa, their eyes red with the fire of battle. They seemed larger than life. Around him, Planet Vegeta engulfed by flames, changing over to a lakeside house, Kakarot's. Fire consuming it, but Raditz's eyes were just fixated on Nappa and Vegeta. He couldn't allow them to destroy his only family left. As Vegeta's laughter echoed, it morphs into a higher-pitched one even more sinister. With a sudden boom, Raditz's eyes snapped open. Now he could see the blue sky above, and a familiar smile.
Uncle Raditz!
Raditz looked around. He was alive. Was this a gift or a curse? Either way, he realized now that he was wrong. The power Earth held, the power Kakarot showed with his friends and his son. Kakarot had always pushed himself to get stronger than he was the day before, always improving himself. His little brother had taught him that, and now Raditz had something he cared about enough to continue proving himself, but his time was up. As he looked to see Kakarot, Raditz asked how he could be alive. Goku had given Raditz the second half of the senzu bean. He was in such bad shape that it looked like it wasn't going to work. Kakarot and his friends had improved a lot, and were far above where Raditz himself used to be. They could take on the Saiyaman, maybe even Nappa. But Vegeta, Frieza, he had to stop this. He had to warn Kakarot and beg him to prepare.
Kakarot, they're strong, and they work for an even more terrible monster.
Huh? A monster?
Kakarot, please, for the sake of your father and brother, defend the pride of the Saiyan race.
Raditz grabbed onto Kakarot's gi tightly, begging him, tears forming on his face. Piccolo, who was standing nearby, told Goku to just end things already, but Goku ignored him. The brother duo stayed quiet. A mutual understanding was reached. There was something else out there. Something much stronger than the Saiyans who were coming. Goku simply nodded at Raditz, reassuring him that he would get stronger. Goku told Raditz that he'd use the Dragon Balls, the Room of Spirit and Time, anything to assure that they would be safe. And maybe one day, find the person who's responsible for all of this. Find Frieza. Raditz was thankful as he stood up and placed a hand on Gohan's head. He apologized for everything and for not having stayed long. He told Gohan that the Saiyan race stood behind him as his ancestors, Bardock, Gine, and himself. Gohan was confused as Raditz turned back and burst his aura open. Goku asked what the hell he was doing when Raditz turned his head to look at them one final time. He just had one question for Gohan. What was the name of the winged insect that landed on his finger? Gohan responded with Butterfly. Raditz nodded at the kid. It was a good name, so was Gohan, and so was Goku. Raditz's aura sparkled as he burst away. Piccolo was going to blast at him, but Goku stopped him. Krillin wondered where he was going, with Goku assuming that he just needed more time. Raditz wiped tears from his face as he flew, landing at his Saiyan pod location. He entered. The seat was uncomfortable. The pod was cramped, but this pod was probably the closest thing he had to a home during the years after Planet Vegeta's destruction. He clicked on a button that lit up the display, Vegeta's message still clearly visible. Raditz took a deep breath and input commands. The pod rumbled, bursting vertically up to the sky at lightning speed, reaching the atmosphere. As the pod made half a round around the curvature of the Earth, Raditz couldn't help but admire it. It was a beautiful planet. It would have been a shame for it to have just become another empty trash heap for the Frieza Force. The pod began to become hotter and hotter as it was released from the Earth's pull, continuing to its destination. It took a while, a day maybe, but the Saiyans had actually been a lot closer than Raditz expected. They were there early. The two pods came into view, radiantly glowing amongst the vastness of space. Even in the stasis state, the Saiyans commanded an incredible presence. He could sense their ki now. Vegeta was terrifying. Raditz took a deep breath, thinking of the family he just left behind. The family he had lost. He then thought of Vegeta and Nappa.
Not much longer before this planet's ours.
It would have been ours much sooner if you'd actually done your job, Raditz.
Sorry.
And that's why everyone calls you Raditz the Runt.
Mark my words, if you screw up again, I will kill you.
Wait, I just remembered something. I think my little brother Kakarot was sent to a different planet. I'll bet he's still there.
The fact that he's your brother doesn't exactly fill me with confidence. What planet was he sent to?
I think it's called Earth.
Those thoughts disappeared along with Raditz himself as the Saiyan pods collided with Vegeta and Nappa, exploding upon impact. Raditz had known that even if they did survive the crash, none of them could survive in the vacuum of space. The giant fireball made no sound, no one saw it, no one felt it. The Saiyan race was truly gone as far as Raditz knew, only living on through his brother and nephew. Perhaps they were free now more than ever. Now, no Saiyan lived under Frieza's rule. Just like his father before him, Raditz left all of his hope on Kakarot's shoulders. The final sight in Raditz's eternal dream being one of Kakarot standing before Frieza on a lush green planet. A vision which quickly faded away. Raditz was dead, and so was the prince and his companion.
Perhaps this was the last expression of the love Raditz felt for his younger brother. Only Raditz knows for sure.
Thank you for watching, everyone. That was part 2 of Fateful Brothers, my adaptation of the Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 What If. Originally, I wasn't sure if to adapt it as is, or to continue the story from here. I decided that I could make a more meaningful story if I adapted it as it is normally, with the ending the game gives Raditz. But honestly, writing Raditz in this story has been so much fun that I think I'm actually gonna make my own version of What If Raditz Turned Good sometime soon in the future. Sorry, this one wasn't that exactly, but I'm gonna come up with something good. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this adaptation. And sorry it had to be in 2 parts. It ended up being far longer than I expected it to. As always, a huge thank you to the patrons of the channel. Patrons get to see art for stories early, get Patreon-only audio dramas, and even watch some series and videos early. So, thank you to Ensaman1, Chandler Draws Things, Tusky59, Indigo Saturn 64, Earth Dragon, Gerald Smith, Clay Stewart, Daniel Bell, Jake King, Dalen Kemmer, Softer Cat, Sowak Surak, Ryan Haynes, Arvin Selman, Faffing About, Kitsune Jester, Kaiju Monarch, Shadow Paradox, Eric Jenkins, Evan Webb Stewart, Lost Saiyan 997, Orange Creamsicle, Chris Macareno, Mao Lick, Daddy, Cyber Samurai, Ryan Wilpula, Beastie Man 420, Faisal Alshref, D-Man for Life, Blaze 9526, Craze PlayStation CK, Free Flow Highway, Mystic Angel, Shenke, True Lightning Striker, Ghost 1571, Trent Rules, D-Man Plays 22, Jim G, Jerome Foster, Salil Pranjape, Keith Grimes, Dreadpool, and The Real Samuel Randall. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. And if you like this video, consider becoming a Patreon. Either way, a huge thank you to Chris Diaz for helping me edit half of this video. Look forward to my future videos, and until we meet again. See ya!